Got a powerful guest with us today, David Phelps, founder of Second Chance at Life. He's here to talk about their big upcoming open house, inviting community, business, and organizational leaders to get involved. Plus, we'll dive into their life-changing program, From Street Life to Straight Life, a 6-month journey helping people turn things around and thrive. David, for those who may not know what that is, talk a little about that and talk about your journey. You know, we were talking off camera, and your journey is very inspiring and interesting.
Yes, yes. So, street life wasn't something that I read about. It was something that I lived. So I've been incarcerated. I've been battling addiction, just kind of stuck and trying to hustle to survive and everything. So I know what that feels like to be out in the streets and be kind of left alone and forgotten about. So after getting out of prison, I decided to give back a second chance at life because I got one, and it wasn't just enough to do my time and come out with a fresh start. But
Yeah.
the things that I did in my past, I left a stain on the community. So I made it up in my mind that I was going to go forward and kind of right my wrongs and give back to the community for what I've done. So Street Life to Straight Life is a 6-month program where we teach real life recovery on Tuesdays and life skills, communication skills, money management, conflict resolution and everything too on Thursdays. And it's designed for people coming out of incarceration, addiction, homelessness, just whatever you're struggling with, whatever you're battling with, And it's based off of basically taking acceptance for what you did and realizing that, hey, you know what? I went down that wrong path. I changed my life and it's time to give back, I think a lot of times we put a lot of pressure on community leaders and community officials to fight the problem that's going on with our community. And I think a lot of the power comes from the people in our community being able to say, you know what, hey, I made a mistake, but let's teach the people underneath us and show them that, hey, it's okay to make a mistake. We just got to go back and we got to rechange a little bit of things in our life and then just give back. I think the power is in the people, the actual people in the community, instead of putting it on our leaders and community officials and everything. So that's what Second Chance at Life and Street Life from Straight Life is about. It's taking this acceptance, changing, challenging ourselves to change, and just basically just moving forward and being able to help other people with their second chance at life.
And how can people, get involved into this program that might not know about it?
So we have our website is secondchance-life.com. You could go there, click on the contact button, get a hold of us, send us an email and everything. And you can also, if you're a business owner, community leader, supporter of Second Chances, we're having an open house on May 14th at 3124 Madison Street, across the street from New Beginnings Church. Our organization is based on partnerships with other organizations. So we want that strong partnership, not only with the people coming through our program, but with the other great resources that Peoria has to offer, So we want to be able to partner with people coming out of the streets, coming, battling their problems, and say, hey, you know what? Let me give a call over here to Trillium Place or to Goodwill and everything, get you set up with our contacts over there.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, David, for joining us on 25 News Midday. And if you want to be a part of this, you can go to our website at 25newsnow.com. Or if you want to be on In the Know, you can submit our form at 25newsnow.com.